Welcome to Intuitive Transformations with your host, Sylvia Henderson, and discover tools, wisdom, and inspiration that will empower you to transform your life. Sylvia is an intuitive life coach and energy healer with a growing practice that is focused on empowering others to be more of who they want to be. For the next hour, join Sylvia and explore and unravel anything in the way of you creating the life that you would love to live on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to the Intuitive Transformations Radio Show, where you will find tools that you can use to transform your life. I'm Sylvia Henderson, your host, and you are listening to OMTimes Radio on iom.fm. And if you don't already know this, you'll find me here every Sunday evening live at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For those of you who live in the States and are familiar with what February 14th is, I hope that you had a really wonderful Valentine's Day, a really wonderful Sweethearts Day. And for those of you that did not have someone special to share that day with, and I have to raise my hand, I'm one of those individuals, I hope that you took some time to really just share the love that you have for yourself with yourself in a very affirming and positive way. You don't have to be in a relationship to feel in love because you are surrounded by love each and every day. The universe wraps its arms around you. And so that's something I just wanted to make sure that you keep in mind no matter what's going on in your life. The universe supports you, loves you, and is here surrounding its arms of love around you. So I don't know about those of you that are listening, but I have to say that I have had some very bizarro kind of experiences over the last week. And I've talked to a number of people, and they too have chimed in and said, yeah, what's going on with the energy and astrologically and all of that. And Mercury is in retrograde, and some of you may go, well, what does that all mean? And I've had some computer problems, and I think that from what I understand, and again, I'm not an astrologer, when Mercury goes into retrograde, you can have all kinds of communication issues, and you can have mechanical problems and whatnot. But fortunately, it's just about ready to reverse its course and go direct again. But until then, we may have a few more days of things being a little wonky, if that's what you've been experiencing. It got so bizarre for me that I ended up jumping on the internet and going, what is going on with the energy? And from what I could gather from the different resources that I looked at, there definitely is something going on even beyond Mercury retrograde, and that it's really, from what they're saying, it's to our benefit, and shortly everything is going to settle out. And for those of us who are really sensitive to shifts and changes in the energy field, it's going to be a positive settling down. So that was reassuring because, like I said, it was really kind of a very strange week for me. Felt a little bit tossed about, and I think some of my clients did, and some of my friends did, and other people. So, if anything is coming up emotionally, make sure that you do take good care of yourself. If you're feeling tired, get some rest. If you feel like you just want to have a good cry, do it, because emotions are not meant to be withheld and trapped and grabbed onto and held and suppressed. It's energy in motion. So if you're feeling that emotion, express it. Even if you're feeling anger, don't take it out on another person, of course. Go somewhere and just, pummel a pillow or something, and release some of that angry energy out of your liver meridian, and so that you can settle down into some more ease within yourself. So tonight I am going to talk about finding one's life purpose. Especially if you feel like your life purpose is missing in action. You're not sure really, well, why am I here? What's going on? And it's interesting because I just got here shortly, probably about 20 minutes ago. I got home to get ready to do the show. I was over in Seattle at East West Bookshop, which is a rather large metaphysical bookstore over in Seattle, and they had a healers fair, and I participated in that. And I had seven beautiful individuals come and sit at my table, and it was a little bit like speed dating because literally they had 20 minutes and it was fast and furious. But I tell you, boy, lots of shifts and changes happened rather quickly because Spirit just took over and did what needed to be done. Now, this may be a little bit confusing for you because some of you might be pondering, well, Sylvia, I thought you were an intuitive life coach, and I am, and you're an energy healer, and I think I think I should elaborate on exactly what I do because I don't know that it's really clear, honestly, on my website, on the OMTimes website, and how I've been defined in some of the other promo information about me. I call myself an intuitive life coach because I'm actually clairvoyant, clairaudient, and I'm an empath. And by clairvoyant, for those of you who don't know what clairvoyancy is, it means that I can see images like a movie in my mind that typically it's about someone's experience, something they've experienced, or something that's going on right now in their lives. And so that allows me to have some insight that the individual I'm working with or thinking of may not have. Now, the bummer side of that is that I can't seem to use it for myself. I wish I could, but I'm really great at being able to tap into that gift for other people. You know, sometimes I'll think about someone and I can see what's going on in their life, or when I'm working with someone, I can clearly see what's going on in their life. And it's interesting because it's not like you sit down and they start talking and it's a constant video, but it comes on, when Spirit wants to give some very clear information and insight during the course of a conversation or during the time that I'm thinking of someone. And I'm also clairaudient. And what that means is that I can receive information, or I do receive information in an audible format. And it's not an audible format like sound, like you're hearing right now with my voice coming through the radio. It really is like this inner dialogue that goes on in my head. And honestly, all of us, we all have an inner dialogue. We all have inner conversations. Usually it's conversations that tend to be more judgmental than informational, like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, or that kind of thing. At least that's what I find. Most people have a lot of negative dialogue going on versus positive. And this dialogue is neither negative nor positive. It's informational. So it's interesting. I'll be thinking of someone and something will come up and I'll just kind of inquiry in my head. So what is that? And then I get like, oh, like that inner dialogue begins to just tell me exactly what it is. So I'm clairaudient. I'm not hearing voices like someone who would be diagnosed as schizophrenic, but I do hear information as if someone is telling me the information, if that makes sense. And I'm also empathic and or an empath. And that means that I can feel and identify the energy of others. I can feel what other people are feeling. I can also feel where they may have energy that is stuck within their field or within their physical body or within an organ, or especially in the chakras. I get a lot of that, like, oh, there's something going on in your second chakra, or there's something going on in your third chakra. And I can feel when the energy gets really big, when it's about to crescendo and release. And then I can also feel when the energy dissipates after it's been cleared and released. So I don't call myself a psychic. although being clairvoyant, clairaudient, those are psychic abilities. And I actually, too, have also trained to do some mediumship work, but I don't use that in my practice. But I don't call myself a psychic because I don't do future readings. And typically, when people think of someone who is a psychic, they think of someone who's going to give them a future reading, give them some insight of what's going to happen in the future. And you might think, well, okay, but I thought you were a life coach. Well, I am. I use all of those gifts and tools that I have naturally, my natural ability to be intuitive, my natural ability to see what's going on and to hear be told what's going on and to feel what's going on to help my clients move through their challenges or the obstacles in their life. I help them see what's in their way so that it can be removed. And I do. I also use a form of energy healing or energy work that allows me to move a step beyond what someone who would typically be called a psychic can do, because I use all of the training that I have to be able to actually move the energy, to shift the energy, to change belief systems or give people belief systems that they don't have. So if you think of us as being like computer running programs, a lot of people can get into, yeah, I just keep running this program over and over again in my head, or keep doing the same thing. It's like you're stuck in a cycle. There's a program running. And so when I'm working with a client, I'm working also with my high self committee and their high self committee and the creator of all that is. And I'm asking what information are they missing that will allow them to live their life easier? And what information do they have that's tripping them up, that's not allowing them to live their life easier? And it's uncanny how this works. I use a pendulum to dowse, and the information that comes up is incredibly accurate, and clients are often amazed, and it works really, really fast. And it works so fast that, as I was saying, I was at this healers fair, and I actually had the chance to see like 7 people in 3.5 hours. So when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation, and until then, enjoy the break. But don't go away. We have so much more to come.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
The Laying On of Hands Healing Radio Show is about treating the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. Join me, Charles Smith, as I share life-balancing measures such as nutrition and spiritual practices to help you take charge of your own health and wellness every Thursday at 7 p.m. on OMTimes Radio.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Well, welcome back. This is Sylvia Henderson, and before the break, I was sharing about a little bit about what I do, and a lot more detail than I think I've ever shared before in the past. And I was also talking about how I had just gotten in from working at a healer's fair. I had a table there at a healer's fair and how fun it was, and how I had an opportunity to work with about 7 people in about 3.5 hours time. And it's just really amazing to see how quickly people can shift and change when we are not the ones in charge, when we allow divinity to take over, divine consciousness to take over. And that really is kind of the basis for everything moving quickly and rapidly. When we can get out of our own way, then creation and life and the universe takes over and makes it move so much faster than we could ever do when we let go of our own control. So, yeah, so I had just so much fun meeting all these great new 7 people. And who knows, maybe they'll be listening to the show this evening because I told them all about it. And then one gal who came in, she's actually been a client of mine for a while. She came in, she had her session, it was awesome. And as I was packing up to get ready to leave, one of the gentlemen at the register said, one of your clients left you this. And it was this beautiful, beautiful chakra necklace that's just stunning, that's made of stone and sterling silver. And she just wanted me to have a little something extra. And I thought, wow. And it's really quite gorgeous. So it's more than just a little something extra. But I just really love how the universe is so benevolent. It's a heart chakra necklace. How perfect, since we just finished Valentine's Day. So if you have any more questions about me, what I do, if you'd like to contact me for a session, you can visit my website, intuitivetransformations.net. It's the same name as the show. Make sure you go to .net and not .com, because there is an intuitivetransformations.com. That's a whole nother story. Or you can just send me an email at sylvia@intuitivetransformations.net. You can bounce over to the radio show page, and there's a link you can click there. But I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions. I talk to people all around the globe, and appointments with me don't have to be in person. They work just great on Skype and telephone, and I'm really, I'm excited about the work that I'm allowed to do, because I know I am living my life purpose. And that is amazing, because I spent most of my life not living my life purpose, not knowing what my purpose was, not knowing why I was here. I questioned that often. Why am I here? Why am I here? Because my life just seemed to be flooded with challenges and difficulties and obstacles, and everything I thought I was supposed to do just would come undone. It wasn't falling into place like I thought things should if I was supposed to be here, I guess, or, if I really had a purpose. And what was interesting is that not every single person that came to my table today, but just about every single one of them, just about sat down and said, yeah, I want to know what I'm here for. I want to know what my life purpose is. And so my work is not to tell them what it is. My work is to remove the obstacles so that they can step into their life purpose. So we're going to lunge right into that in a moment. There's one more thing I wanted to share before we do, though. And I wanted to alert you that this radio show is not about me per se, as much as it is really my intention to have it be more about you. And I'm trying to come up with some creative ideas of how to include you as the listener more, so that this becomes more of an interactive exchange. Because I want to hear from you. I want to know what it is that you would like support with, that you would like guidance with, that you would like insight with. And so I will be putting together a Facebook radio show page that you can join as a group. It's open to anyone. I'll talk about the link at a future show once it gets launched. And I do know that OMTimes is working on setting up a live call-in number for you to use. But until then, I want to create some avenues for you to actually connect to me, so we can build a sense of community around this show, so that you, the listeners, will be able to really feel engaged with me and have some input as to what you would like to hear, what you would like to have me share, what's going on in your life, what's real for you, because that is the work that I do, is meeting people where they're at and what is real for them. So jumping back into looking at this topic that I chose, which is your life purpose missing? I thought that would be a really good question to ask because, as I said, most of the people that came to the healing fair today had that question on their mind or on their heart. They're trying to figure their life out. And the ones that weren't just challenged with struggle and being overwhelmed were just like, well, what is this about anyway? Why am I here? And I have to say that I believe the desire to find and identify one's life purpose is the question that is asked at least once in someone's lifetime, at least once. You have to take pause and give yourself a moment to go, why am I here? What am I here for? What is my purpose in life? What am I supposed to do? And it really doesn't matter if you're in your 20s and you're asking that question, because honestly, there are people that are in their late 60s and above that are still asking that question. What am I supposed to do? And when I was preparing for this show, I came across a really fantastic TEDx talk. And it was a TEDx talk that was done in Malibu, and I want to say Malibu, California, and I want to say it was around 2013. I'm sorry, I didn't write down the date. But it was a gentleman by the name of Adam Lepzig, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And it was entitled "How to Know Your Life Purpose." And it's a very short video, TEDx talk video, where he very quickly gives people an overview of what a life purpose, and also talks about why he's giving this overview. It turns out that he is a very successful movie producer. He's been in the entertainment field for years, not in front of the camera, more the production aspect of it. And he is a graduate of Yale, which is an Ivy League college here in the United States. And he was talking about how he was attending his 25-year reunion at Yale. And that 80% of the people who had graduated in his graduating class from Yale were unhappy with their lives. And that's something that a lot of us that did not have the privilege of an Ivy League education, because the financial wherewithal that goes with that accompanies that, and the prestige that happens in someone's life when they graduate with an Ivy League diploma is pretty way up there, at least in terms of what social standings could be considered. But interestingly enough, 80% of the people there were unhappy. And the 20% of the people who graduated from Yale in that class that were happy, they were happy because they knew who they were, and they lived their lives from a outward focused perspective, where the ones that were unhappy, they were focusing more on themselves, on their material goods, their acquirement of wealth, their acquirement of esteem, their acquirement of prestige. But they weren't happy being inward focused. So I found that really, really fascinating. And then he says in this talk, he's going to allow you to discover your life purpose within 5 minutes. And I liked the format of the questions that he shared and asked in order to get to some conclusion and help people find their life purpose. But I think that it was a little cursory for me, because the first question was, who are you? And he wanted people to just shout out their name in the audience. And honestly, I have to say, after working with as many people as I've worked with, just saying your name is not a way to identify who you are. Interestingly enough, as I was doing the work today and as I've done work with other people, what tends to come up is it's not about the identity that you have been given by someone else. It's not about the name you've been given. It's not about the role you play in the family that identifies really who you are. It's a role. That's not who you are. It's not about your achievements. It's not about your accolades. It's not what you do as a profession or as a career that defines who you are. Even though when you go to a social gathering or a party, the first thing people do typically when they're introducing each other to one another is they say, "Hi, my name is Sylvia, and I'm a intuitive life coach. What do you do? What's your name and what do you do?" And what you do is not who you are. So, I found that really interesting that this is really, I believe, the crux of the matter as to why people are confused about what their life purpose is. We're raised in an environment that teaches us that we have a certain amount of expectations. We have certain common goals that our society, that our mindset value very highly. And it all starts with birth. Right? And then we make it to our first day at school. Oh, first day at school, it's a big event. Let's take pictures. Yay, it's first day, her first day at school. Then we move on to elementary school. And we graduate from elementary school, first graduation. Maybe preschool, there was a graduation. That happens too. Or kindergarten, there's a graduation. But elementary school, that's a much bigger thing. And then we graduate from, here in the States, we have middle school or junior high. And then we go on to high school and we graduate from high school. And that's a pretty big thing because now you're in that gap between being a child that lives constantly in your parents' home to emerging into adulthood. And that may look like going to college or that may look like not going to college. But we move on to something like that. We graduate from high school and then we move on to college is what the social expectations are. And then we graduate, right? So I'm going to finish this conversation when we get back. We're going for a quick break. Don't go away. I'm going to tie this up neatly so it makes perfect sense for you when we return in a moment.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business. The future of internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Hey, welcome back. This is Sylvia Henderson on Intuitive Transformations radio show on the OMTimes network at iom.fm. So before we went into the break, I was sharing a little bit about this TEDx video that I came across where this gentleman, Adam Lepsig, I hope I'm saying his name correctly. I may have even changed the pronunciation since the first time I tried to pronounce it. But he was talking about that basically, in order to find your life purpose, you have to start with who you are. And I was talking about how it's been difficult, at least it seems like people are having a hard time identifying what that is and who they are, that it's not your career, it's not your accomplishments, it's not your accolades. And how this gentleman, Adam, had shared about how he was a Yale graduate and that, his all of his peers, that 80% of them were unhappy and 20% happy, and what the distinction was there. And I was kind of going over what our common expectations are in terms of what our life is supposed to look with starting at birth and, going into school and graduating from high school and graduating from college. And then it goes on to getting your first job, getting a good job, getting married, buying your first home, having children to raise, raising them and sending them to college, and maybe having grandchildren, and eventually reaching that golden age of retirement when you finally get to kick up your heels and relax and enjoy life and hang out on Easy Street until you transition. I mean, that is pretty much the picture of what life looks like here in the United States. I'm not sure how it looks in other countries, but that's how it kind of looks here. And it's not providing the fulfillment that we're all longing for. And I believe that people are having a hard time identifying who they are because we have to disown so much of who we are in order to fit into this cycle that starts at birth until we die. In order to maintain our composure and behavior and making everyone happy around us, when we do that, we tend to disown parts and pieces of who we are. And when you interview those people who do feel like they are living their dream, that they are passionate about life. Have you noticed that? They wake up with an excitement. They're thrilled about the next day and what the next day is going to bring because they know they're living their life on purpose. And part of that is that they know who they are. And in order to live your life on purpose, that means you have to step out of your conformity, step out of your comfort zone of pleasing or seeking outward approval, because that's what that 80% of those Yale graduates were really striving for. If I have these accolades, then people from the outside will look at me and say, wow, aren't you amazing? You went to Yale, you graduated, you have all these honors, you're making all this money, you're amazing. And we all know that when you look at the lives of the rich and famous, even though it looks glamorous and exciting and they have all this money, there tends to be you can see beneath the veil. If you look beneath the veil, there's not a lot of complete happiness unless they know who they are. Those that know who they are, that's a different story. But those that are identifying who they are based upon outward approval are struggling. They're having a difficult time. And you don't have to be rich and famous to have that struggle. I mean, that's what I was seeing today was the individuals that I was so blessed to have come and sit at my table and experience my work were they're just like trying to figure out, who am I? And it's because as little ones, we feel, if I just love you enough, if I give to you enough, if I disown myself enough, then maybe you'll love me back. It goes back to kind of the boundary story that I shared in an earlier show. And it also comes with a confusion, too, about really your sense of identity. You lose your sense of identity when you make other people's expectations of who you should be more important than your acceptance of who you really are. I hope that makes sense. The second question he posed to this group was, what do you love to do? And this is really key. When you think about people who are in their life, living their life on purpose, They're doing what they love. They're excited about it. It's not a sacrifice. It's not a struggle. It's something that brings them immense amount of joy. It's fun to them. They're excited about each day because they know who they are and they're in alignment. They're doing what aligns with who they are. And it's interesting because sometimes I think people think that, your life purpose should be this grandiose thing, like I have to win some major Pulitzer Prize or, write a #1 best-selling book. And it might look like that. There's nothing wrong with that. It might very well look like that. But really, it is about rediscovering who you are first, finding out who are you, really, who are you? That's the first one. Not what you've been called, what you do, but really, who are you? And part of that is, what do you love to do? What makes your heart soar? Joseph Campbell said it best. Follow your bliss. What brings you bliss in life? And here's the risk. This is why people stumble, because they go, oh my God, if I do what I love, then people will judge me. If I do what brings me bliss, people might think I'm self-centered or selfish. Au contraire, when you are in alignment with who you are and you pursue what you really love, magical things happen. And I want to add something to this that Adam brought to light. He said, what do you love to do? And is it something that you can teach other people to do too? Is it something you can share with someone else? Because here's the other thing, the distinction between the two groups. The group that was the happiest was the group that was outward focused. They were the contributors. They were not just amassing money and amassing recognition and amassing outward approval for their own sense of self-worth. They knew who they were. They were doing what they loved, and they were sharing that with other people in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Whether they were teaching other people to do something, to replicate what they were doing, sharing their experiences. And it may not be like a direct contribution. It might be that you invented something. That's a contribution. But it made your heart soar to do that. Or you achieved something, maybe it's like you broke a world record. That still raises consciousness on a very beautiful level. And then the other question that was posed on this TEDx talk, and I encourage you to search on the internet, and it's the TEDx talk that was How to Know Your Life Purpose, I believe is what it was called exactly. And the third question that Adam raised was, who are the people that you would do this thing for? Who would you contribute to? Who would benefit from what you have to offer? From that thing that makes you happy, that makes your heart soar? Who would benefit the most? And then the fourth question, because he asked 5, what would people do with this thing? Or who would want this thing, I should say. Who would want or need it? So it's not just who are the people that you would do this for, but this is to help clarify that question even further by posing the question, what would people do with what you have to offer? What need would it fulfill? And then how will they change as a result? Boy, I tell ya, if you put this formulation together and you live this out, if you step into this, if you get courageous enough to step out of your comfort zone and to really identify and own the truth of who you are, which is this innate, amazing, intelligent being that is filled with creativity. And you might go, Sylvia, I don't feel like I'm filled with creativity. If you don't feel like you're filled with creativity, then my guess is that someone has talked you out of it. And that's another area where we can tend to disown the truth of who we are, disown parts of ourselves. When someone tells us not to trust our gut, I was working with this beautiful woman today, and I could clearly tell she's very intuitive. And a lot of people who are intuitive, they have a problem trusting yourself. I struggled with it for a long time. It took years before I finally said, you know what, I'm just going to trust. I'm just going to trust that my guidance is good and move forward and not worry about being judged. And it's amazing. The more I let go of being the fear of being judged, the better, the more accurate my guidance became, because I no longer had a filter on it. I was no longer editing. I was just surrendering and allowing the information to come forward. And it was just an amazing thing. But this woman who I could tell, my guidance was saying she's very intuitive. She's actually pretty psychic. And I mentioned that to her, and she goes, yeah, that's true. But, she didn't trust it. And so what we do often, here's the other thing that trips us up with our purpose. Whether you consider yourself to be psychic or not, you have an internal intuition. Everybody does. Everybody is intuitive. I'm not the only one. Psychics are not the only one. Everyone on the planet is intuitive. We have this natural, innate intuition. We all do. But since we were little, we've been told to ignore it. Imagine a 3-year-old at a family reunion meeting a group of cousins from New York for the very first time, and who comes from a small town. And not to pick on the East Coasters, but you guys are really very vibrant and energetic, and lots of conversation, where other areas of the country, they're more quiet and subdued. And this 3-year-old is in this family reunion and is told, go and play with your new 5 cousins who you've never seen before. And that little 3-year-old's first, or go hug your aunt who you've never met before, or your uncle who you've never met before. That little 3-year-old's first response was probably going to be, wait, I got to feel this first. I don't know. And then if there's any hesitation, they're like urged and pushed. If there's any resistance, they're even pushed more to disown who they are and do something they don't feel safe and comfortable with. That's one of the reasons, one of the ways we begin to disown ourselves. It starts when we're very young. So we're going to go into another break. And when we return, of course, I'm going to finish the conversation. So stay tuned and I'll be right back.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into OMTimes Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is Sylvia Henderson. I have been sharing some insight and information on how you can discover your life purpose, how you can step into it, some of the things that might hold you back from actually being able to do that. I was sharing a story about hypothetical story about a 3-year-old being forced into connecting with relatives that they've met for the first time and not being really allowed to own their sense of caution or, just really feel safe in their space before they do that. Because for a lot of us, not all of us, but for a lot of us, we have spent most of our life stepping out of our comfort zone, but only so someone else could be comfortable, not so that we could find the true sense of who we are. So there is a distinction and a difference in that, because we do have this amazing innate intelligence, this guidance that leads us and shows us how to be and what to do in the world and what's safe. But when we are constantly berated or embarrassed or shamed for owning that, then we think it's not good. And then we also, because we know it's a part of who we are, over time we begin to think that we're not good. And that can definitely block anyone from stepping into their life purpose. And so before I move forward, I do want to share something that I meant to share earlier at the top of the hour in the beginning of the show. And that is, I am going to have a wonderful guest, a fantastic guest on next week's show. And his name is Guy Joseph Ale, and he is the president of Lifespan Seminar that's located in California. And this gentleman, I'm very excited to have him on the show, because he's definitely what I would call a global. He's been actually called a global visionary, but he definitely is a visionary. And his area of expertise includes, which I think is fascinating, body consciousness, cosmic consciousness, mind-body energy coherence. That sounds really wonderful, to have your mind, body, and your energy coherent. I love that. Infinite potential of existence. Wow. Innate intuition, which is what I was talking about. We all have that innate intuition. So, and universal intelligence. He's also an expert on how to live your longest and healthiest life. That's a great conversation to have, right? And wisdom of the body and evolution of the mind. And he will be joining us next week at 6 p.m. next Sunday on February 22nd here on OMTimes Radio. And we actually are going to get to listen to his insight and wealth of information about innate intelligence and universal intelligence. Innate intuition and universal intelligence. And this is, I have to say, if you haven't noticed, there's kind of a theme going on with the shows that I've been providing. And my heart and my goal and my desire is really towards helping people to reconnect with the truth of who they are. And it's because I've lived most of my life, and I won't tell you how old I am, but I'm a lot older than my picture would tell you. Most people guess me about 20 years younger than I actually am, so I'll let you look at the photo and then you do the math. But I will say this, it is very difficult to live a life filled with satisfaction, a sense of purpose, and a sense of destiny when you are constantly disowning who you are, when you're afraid to be your truth. And I have to admit, even publicly announcing that I'm a clairvoyant and a clairaudient is stepping way out of my comfort zone. because even though that's something that a lot of people do, I mean, I have a sister that works on the psychic network, psychic hotline. I have a cousin that's a medium. It's something that kind of has run in my family, but it was something I was always uncomfortable with because I had a lot of religious programming that said it wasn't good. And it's taken me a long time to own and embrace my gifts as God-given gifts. And so this stepping into your life purpose can be super uncomfortable. Sometimes I'm sure that it can be, and maybe not, I don't know, but my guess is it's a little bit like coming out of the closet with any other secret or any other thing, because for most of our lives, we live hidden. We've hidden our life purpose. We don't share it. We don't share our joys. We don't embrace it. But here's the thing. The people we celebrate, the people that we admire, those are the people that said, you know what? I don't care what people think. I am going to be me 110%, 110% of the time. I'm going to speak my authentic truth. I'm going to share my knowledge. I'm going to share my creativity. I'm going to put it out there into the world in physical form. I'm not going to hold back and play it small anymore. Those people we admire because they are living the truth we all want to live. We came into physical form, I believe, to do something great. And it may not be winning a Pulitzer Prize. It may not be, being as visible as a Mother Teresa or, being wealthy like Bill. It may not be something that is so visible for the whole global world to see, but it will be still just as powerfully impactful. That I guarantee. When you can start believing in who you are, accepting who you are, standing in who you are, and then doing what brings you the most joy. And it won't be something distorted or perverted because it's going to be something that will provide a contribution on some level. I mean, researchers have found that the people that are the happiest are the ones that make some kind of contribution into the lives of others or into the humanity as a whole. And so if you're wondering what your life purpose is, the first thing you need to do, of course, is to ask yourself, who am I? Not who you think you are, not what you do. Who am I? And if you're not really clear, then find some quiet time. Sit in a space and a time of meditation with that. And instead of a mantra, make it your mantra to just ask over and over again, who am I? Who am I? And sit with that and see what is birthed out of that. Because I think you'll be surprised, and make sure you have a pen and paper there. And if meditation's not your thing, go for a beautiful walk. Take some time, listen to some meditative music. Find that still moment where you're not being pulled in 5 different directions, where the TV's on or the children are making noise in the background. Find that quiet time, even if you have to go and shut the door in the restroom of your home in order to find space and time of quiet, or sit in the car. Something that gives you a moment of stillness so that you can reconnect with you. That is where you will begin the journey to finding your purpose, your true purpose in life. Then, from that point, you will be able to begin to discover what brings you joy, what your bliss is, what makes your heart soar, and how you can use that to enhance the lives of others in some way, shape, form, or fashion. That's how you find your life purpose. Your life purpose is not outside of you. It's inside of you, waiting to be born, waiting to be brought forth into the light. And the more you love and accept yourself and let go of your judgments and let go of the shoulds, I should have done this, I should have gone to that school, I should have, applied for that job, I should have gotten that job, I should be making this, all of that, let it go. If that was your life purpose, you would have been in it. That I can tell you. There's something better ahead for you. Something greater than just being another cog in the wheel, something greater than just following that pathway of expectation of going to the college and graduating, getting the right job and getting married. Nothing wrong with any of those things. And that might be your life purpose. Not saying that it's not. But if you're not feeling fulfilled in it, if you don't wake up every morning excited, if you don't feel like you're making a contribution, if you're like that 80% of those Yale graduates feeling unhappy about your life, you're not in your life purpose then. Because your life purpose is going to bring you joy. Your life purpose is going to bring you bliss. It's going to be the thing that is going to pull you out of bed every day with excitement and energy and curiosity and knowing that you have value, that you belong, that you are here for a reason, and that reason is really good and really amazing and really fantastic. That is why we're here. Our purpose is not something that we search for outside of who we are. It's something we uncover. Little ones, remember. It's time for you to remember. I hope that this has been a time of encouragement. I hope that you will be able to take my words to heart. And I hope that you will enjoy the journey of finding your life purpose and stepping fully and completely into it. Until we meet again next week, next Sunday, enjoy your life. It is a gift, and you are the biggest gift that you could ever give to life. Love to you. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye for now.